All right, New Orleans Saints 1-0 after they take care of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday afternoon. They will get set up now for a Monday night matchup in Las Vegas, as Las Vegas will make their debut to the NFL world on Monday night. Raiders will host the New Orleans Saints. Each week we talk Saints football with Nick Underhill, who is from NewOrleans.Football. It is a subscription site. If you have not subscribed, then you really don't care about the New Orleans Saints, because that is where the best information lives, over at NewOrleans.Football. And, in fact, you can subscribe to the podcast when you get there as well. So there's lots of ways to digest all the Saints information that Underhill is putting out, and all of that is compliments of former LSU football player and attorney Chris Perrette each week here on Off the Bench, as KP brings that conversation to you here on ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Alexandria. Nick, good morning. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well.
Hey, Nick, so let's just dive right in, man. The content's been excellent lately. You finally have film that you've been chopping up. But give me an instant reaction. How validating was it, after hyping up the secondary so much during camp, to see them come out and do what they did on Sunday?
Yeah, I guess I tied myself to them a little bit by building them up so much. But look, this is what we expected them to be, and it's a veteran group now. These aren't young players anymore. We know who they are. I guess Janoris Jenkins was a little bit of a question mark. In some stops he's been outstanding. Other stops he's been a liability for the defense. But I think he's bought all the way in here. This system works for him, and you saw it, play out really well for him. And the interception he made was off the film study. It wasn't even just, his physical ability. So he's putting in the time. He's recognizing what the other team's doing, and he's making plays. So I think those are all great signs for a guy that's been a little volatile throughout his career. And then, we saw a lot of the dime package out there, which we saw throughout the summer with the use of all these safeties. And it was almost more than they played nickel. They were 6 snaps behind in dime. And I think if C.J. Williams was healthy, you might have actually seen that shift the other way, and the dime defense might have actually been the base defense in this game. But, it wasn't, and they played J.D. Swearinger. And, there were a couple plays for him that weren't great. He gave up a big reception to Chris Godwin. But, overall, I thought that secondary was really good, and I do think moving forward through the season, they're going to kind of be the identity of the defense. And those are the chameleons, the guys that can move around, do different things, and make things happen, and we saw that in week 1.
Yeah, and it was just like you said, it was just a fantastic start for the defense. The offense left a bit to be desired. That said, it ends up being a great team win, which is kind of great in its own right. But you've dove into the film. What have you seen offensively? What was holding back the Saints on Sunday?
Yeah, so a lot of the conversation about arm strength, I kind of feel like those people haven't really been watching the Saints, because Drew's really never been a big arm strength guy. And the out routes, like the one that Jared Cook, you saw that you just put right over the defensive back's hands, or maybe it got tipped. He loaded up for that so early and had to let it go to get it there. And that's how he plays. That's his arm strength. He can get it down the field on a straight line a little bit and float the ball. And he had another one of those too. But, if you're going to create cause for concern, the thing that was a little bit weird to me was that his accuracy was a bit off. He missed 2 passes in the flat to Alvin Kamara. And the one throw that really threw me off more than anything is Alvin was coming out of the flat on the left side, and Drew puts the ball on his back shoulder, which you never see. You never see that. He's godlike accuracy. It's always front shoulder leading out. And, there were just a couple things that were a little bit off. And I do think that it's going to get cleaned up. And, throwing to some of the receivers, I think no preseason. And, again, going back to the first point about, arm strength loading up early, so much of what Drew does is with the anticipation and timing. And if you don't have those preseason games, that's going to be a tick off, and you're going to see stuff just a little bit out of sorts. And look, maybe I'm wrong, and this is a 41-year-old quarterback becoming 41, but I don't think so. I mean, and I'm willing to be wrong on that by wanting to wait 3 or 4 games to see, what it looks like when there's actual time on task. But, I think they'll clean it up, and all that stuff will be fine in time.
Yeah, I didn't think the arm strength thing as much. I did think at a certain point, and I haven't gone back and watched it again yet, but I did think watching live that at a certain point it looked like the pressure was maybe get to him. He looked a little rattled. Things looked a little sped up. Did you see any of that when you went back and watched?
Yeah, I don't think he was navigating the pocket as well as he normally did. And it was quick to flee. And, the other thing that stood out to me a little bit is that he wasn't really letting stuff develop the way he usually would.
Yeah.
there was a 3rd and 1 where Emmanuel Sanders was coming open on a slant, running right behind Jared Cook, but Drew, no pressure or anything, just sped himself up, throws the quick out to Jared Cook, and, he gets a 1-yard gain on 3rd and 4. Like, Drew would normally see Emmanuel Sanders on that play. Or, there were a couple other plays where he had guys going down the field, and it was like if he didn't see them win immediately off the line, like he didn't have the confidence to throw a vertical pass down the field, and it was just a pass to the flat immediately to Alvin Kamara. And it was a really weird game. I know Peyton's taking a lot of heat for, being horizontal. And look, there was some of that, but it's also the quarterback not, making these throws down the field. And there were only 7 pass attempts in this game that traveled 10 yards through the air. 2 of them got completed. That's extremely conservative. And that's both of them. It's not just one guy. It's a conservative game plan, and then a quarterback being ultra conservative with how he executes it. And, I just, like I said, I just think as they get more comfortable playing together, some of the stuff will sort itself out. But, I mean, look, he's 41. Everything is worth looking at this point. But I just don't think that, this is the point to sound the alarm.
So one more on the offense here. We're talking to Nick Underhill at Nick_Underhill NewOrleans.Football. Go sign up today. Alvin Kamara signs a big contract right for the game. Couple scores. Kind of a rough day otherwise. What do you make of Kamara's day as a whole?
I thought he was all right. I think that the offense just had a lot of trouble getting anything going. And Sean Payton said that, he was calling the wrong runs. He was calling man concepts when he should have been doing outside zone stuff. And, I think some of that's probably supported. It was tough to get really anything going there. But Alvin probably should have had 4 touchdowns in this game. There was a pass that got tipped right out to the flat. If he had caught it, it would have been a touchdown. He had the one that came back that was really, really close, and then Brees missed him on another pass coming out of the flat, threw it right behind him. That quite possibly if he beats one guy, it's another score. So he was making stuff happen. The thing that stood out to me is just watching him. Maybe it didn't show up in the production, but he looked really fast and spry to me, which is really what you're looking for this early in the season and coming off those injuries. So. I just think that once they get some of the stuff sorted out a little bit and, they figure out their offense, he's going to start shining again.
Yeah, it's like Jordy was talking about yesterday, just the speed to beat David to the edge as he kind of set him up and then blew by him. He looks like he's in great shape again.
Nick, Malcolm Roach, another offseason or another undrafted free agent that comes in and makes an impact. He takes Shy Tuttle's spot on the active roster Sunday. What did you make of the Baton Rouge native?
I thought he had a really good camp, and he was running ahead of Shy Tuttle throughout camp a lot. There was some thought, me and Mike Triplett had talked about it. We do our 53-man rosters. We were both, trying to get the courage to cut Shy Tuttle for Malcolm Roach. That's how far ahead, we both kind of thought he was. Obviously, they found a place for both players. And, look, I'm extremely high on Shy Tuttle. I think if he gets the opportunities, he's a guy that can make a lot of plays happen. But Roach was just better than him. And, coming into this game, I think he played something like 14 snaps and he had 2 tackles for a loss. I mean, you can't really do a whole lot more with your snaps than that. And, it's a great start for him. I think that he's going to have a decent little role on this team, some niche spots. And, he keeps showing up. It can expand. But he had a great summer. And, there's a reason they kept him. They didn't expose him to waivers to try to win on practice squad or anything like that. The book's kind of out on him. And I think that he showed up and made those plays. So it's a good start for him.
Nick Underhill, brought to you every week here on Off the Bench by former LSU Tiger and current attorney Chris Perrette, as we talk to Underhill about the New Orleans Saints each week. I know that the big story 2 weeks ago was that the fact that the Saints kept 2 punters. It looked like that motivated Thomas Morstead. He played fantastic on Sunday. He's usually a player that kind of goes unsight unseen because you just expect him to be great every week. What's the feeling around Morstead right now?
I think Thomas is still among the best in the league at what he does. And, again, he showed that on this game. His, like you said, his punts were all on point. They weren't getting any return yards. I mean, it was about as good as it gets for a punter. Gillikin had a really good camp, though. And, it was one of the things, after day one, you saw right away how good he was. And, he has the ability – I'm out there with a stopwatch at practice, like a dork, timing the punts. And, some of his punts were hanging 5.1, 5.2 seconds, which is absurd. 4.6, 4.7 is a big leg. And, he just had some misfits, and he just isn't as crisp as Morstead. And the tactical stuff isn't there quite the same way. But, Morstead beat him out clearly. He had a better camp. They got Gillikin on IR now, so they're going to hide him for a while. And maybe next year you start looking at a possible, succession plan or something like that. Morstead does make a lot of money. But if he keeps punting the way he's punting and this team's in the hunt to chase championships and, there's they still feel confident about quarterback next year, I think you keep running it back. But if you're going to start, maybe shifting things and you got a new quarterback and maybe the road's a little bit longer to the Super Bowl, you look at a way to possibly save money at punters. So, they got their future, locked away in the bank, but the present is really, really good.
Nick, so I want to see if you felt like I did. Yes, the offense struggled on Sunday, right? But I still come out of that game more encouraged, even with all the hype, thinking they might be even better than I thought after watching how complete that team looked on Sunday. Did you feel similarly?
Yeah, the defense playing as well as it did, I think was pretty validating. If they can take it from good to great, I think that's a big step for this team. Special teams is what it is. I mean, they're going to be one of the better units in the league just because of the emphasis they place on it. And they'll use 3-4 roster spots just on guys that are primarily special teamers. And there aren't a lot of teams that do that. The Patriots are one, the Saints are another, and there's probably a couple throughout the league. But, having guys like J.T. Gray and Justin Hardy and eventually Marquez Callaway and, they essentially brought up Marcus Hunt to block field goals and provide a little depth on the defensive line. Stuff like that. A lot of teams won't use those spots just on special teams guys. Offensively, I assume they're going to figure it out because it's Sean Payton and Drew Brees. And even if it's just Sean Payton will figure it out. If he's got to run Wildcat and, Taysom Hill snaps to win games, that's what they'll do and they'll figure it out. But I do think Drew's going to get back on point. I think it's just the timing stuff. The one thing we aren't really talking about is Carlton Davis kind of doing a really good job against Mike Thomas and taking him out. And when that happens, a guy that, gets that many snaps and he's the safety valve, it's going to throw everything else out of sorts a little bit too. And, when Drew's hurrying up and not wanting to handle the pressure, if you don't have Mike immediately open on the slant or the quick out or the curl, and you got to start looking other places, that's going to be a little bit, disorienting because he's been so consistent the last 3 years. So, I don't think that a lot of teams are going to be able to do that. So that's going to bounce back too. So, yeah, I'm with you. If I thought they were winning 12, 13 games before this game, I'm still at 12, 13 games. I think that we got a lot of the information we needed to see to validate those thoughts. And the offense wasn't there, but it's going to be there. I can't join the national panic. I know, NFL Live wants to bury the Saints after one game. I'm just not there at this point.
No, I mean, come on. The Saints offense is going to get it. All right, Nick, we're running long, but I just love talking to you so much. Give me like a minute, or you got less than a minute. What was your view on why Sean Payton ran that gadget play late in the game? I'm interested to see your opinion.
The
double pass. Yeah, sorry. For those that are the Taysom Hill double pass to Alvin Kamara.
I mean, if we're being honest, I think Taysom has better deep arm strength, and they're probably going to bring him in throughout the season to take those shots. They tried to do it earlier in the game. You saw him looking down the field, and it wasn't there, and then, he went away from it. So they tried it again. I think we're going to probably see that at times periodically throughout the year.
Nick, have a great day. Thank you for the time this morning, as always.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
NewOrleans.Football. Make sure and subscribe. Make sure and get the podcast as well, wherever you get your podcast from. We'll close that hour 2 next.